Hey everyone, and welcome to what? This is all my videos, dude. Hey everyone, I am here. Here we go. Hey everyone, I am here with drum mogul Adam Tuminaro from Orlando Drummer, and we are here in the Orlando Drummer studio.
Here we are.
How you doing today, man?
Doing good, man. Been a long one. But it's been a good day.
Yeah, I dragged this guy out to Warped Tour today and made him watch me in the heat.
It was so hot. Dude.
Yeah, it was brutal. I'm a bad friend. But yeah, Adam, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, dude.
I was wondering if you could share with us part of your story and how you got to here and where you are today.
Sitting on the floor in front of a drum set.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, that's a loaded question. So I started out teaching. My first teaching gig ever was at a enrichment center for children. It was a cool place. So I was the music teacher. I taught piano, guitar, and drums. Wow. And there was a kid, a student that I had for probably 4 or 5 years after this. I was like 19 at the time. And this kid ended up being a literal genius. Like, he tested out as a genius.
Oh, wow.
But we didn't know that at the time. He was like 4 or 5. Mm-hmm. And he asked me one day in a drum lesson, keep in mind, I can't read music at this point. I don't know anything. I'm teaching 5 and 6-year-olds. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, you know? And this kid asked me, what happens if I play a rhythm that doesn't fit inside of a bar of music, but if I keep going for a long time, eventually it does? What's that called? Like, this kid discovered polyrhythms. He was like 5 or 6, right? But at the time, I had no idea how to answer that question, and I was really, really embarrassed. So I went home and I went to wikipedia.com/ like rhythmic notation or something, and I just learned how to read. Yeah, it was heavy, and I sort of started with 16th notes and 8th notes, and kind of worked back through all the stuff I should have been doing growing up and just never did. And so I took that knowledge and I started applying it to YouTube videos that I saw and other. I would get books and sort of piece together, like, okay, I get what this means. It's kind of like this thing that I read about, and just sort of started piecing stuff together. And then eventually I applied that to the lessons that I was, also teaching. And then now it wasn't just kids. I was able to teach more of those upper level beginner and sort of intermediate students. And then as I progressed, I just got students that had higher skill levels and eventually filled a roster of students, working at a music store and teaching privately. And then somewhere along the line, videos sort of merged in there. And then I decided I'm gonna make drum lesson videos and see how that goes. And it's going. It's going.
All right, so you've been doing the online teaching thing for a while. You've also taught a bunch of other people in person.
Sure.
What do you feel like would be like the most widespread lesson that this drumming generation needs to learn?
Oof. Outside of specific stuff, like it'd be foolish to say like paradiddles, because maybe you're a death metal player and you never play that.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think the biggest skill set that this generation of up-and-coming musicians or drummers could learn would be time management. And that sounds kind of vague, but as a musician, you will rarely have a boss. And if you do, it's a temporary boss on the gig that you're playing. You don't have a boss when you wake up at home and you're doing the gig that day. But you're still a musician. Your job is still to play music. So if you don't have the ability to organize your time, meaning I'm gonna wake up, I'm gonna make breakfast at this time, go to the gym at this time, I'm gonna practice from this time to this time, I'm recording from this time to this time, editing from this time to this time. And that's my world. Your day could look a lot different.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the ability to manage your own day, as a musician, no one will ever do that for you.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of musicians that are very, very talented, but don't have a lot to show for it. And I think there's a lot of musicians that work really, really hard and also don't have a lot to show for it. And I think the balance of the limited time that you do have to do stuff, I think that balance is super, super important. And that's something I put a ton of focus on at the start of every day, is how am I spending these hours? Because these are gone at the end of today. And I get a new set tomorrow, but, you know, hopefully I get that. I don't know.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. I mean, motivation can be a really tricky thing in general, but let's say you even get motivation, then focused motivation is even harder, right? It's like, okay, now I know I really want to do this, but how do I go about it? And you just get really scatterbrained.
Yeah, absolutely. I just, it's something, it's a skill set. You have to build that up over time. I'm not saying just, you know, go home and decide you're going to write down your schedule now. You might not be that good at that right away. But if you focus on how you spend your time and learning about yourself and how is your time best spent, you know, what's the most effective you can be in an 8-hour time frame. As you learn that and develop that skill as a musician, I just think that makes you a powerhouse of a musician. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree.
Yeah.
So, Adam, being the drum mogul that you are,
I call myself that all the time.
When I was introduced to Adam, he's like, "Hey, I'm the drum mogul."
Adam,
you didn't even say Adam,
mogul? Yeah.
just the drum mogul. But you know, you have a really awesome following across the board on social media. So, what would be your biggest advice to drummers trying to build a social media presence or following?
Sure. I think the biggest thing is to just